With Caitlin Clark injured, the WNBA will be reliant on their other stars to carry the league. I'm not just talking about ratings. I'm not just talking about attendance. The WNBA will be reliant on their other stars to maintain the interest of the mainstream. With Angel Reese being the only player with mainstream name recognition, most of the pressure, it is going to be on her to perform. And we have plenty of evidence that proves Angel Reese is not qualified to carry the league.
Caitlin Clark's season has come to a heartbreaking end. And this time, it's not just bad luck. The shadow of Angel Reese's jealousy has been looming all year, fueling drama, reckless play, and a toxic environment that broke Clark's body down piece by piece. From a quad strain in May, groin issues in June and July, to a bone bruise in August, it was one injury after another. Instead of protecting their brightest star, the league allowed Reese's obsession with tearing Clark down to spiral out of control. Now, the fallout isn't just Clark's tragedy. It's a league-wide disaster. Fans are furious. And Angel Reese's response? Silence. Maybe even satisfaction.
Angel Reese, under pressure. When you think about it, there have been so many classic songs written about the WNBA dump. Obviously, Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie, which directly applies to what Angel Reese and her colleagues are going through right now. An immense amount of pressure to carry this dump of a league while Caitlin Clark recovers.
How many times did we watch Clark shoved, grabbed, and knocked off balance, only to see Reese celebrating like it was a badge of honor? Fans saw it, over and over. Clark bodied before she even touched the ball. Clark hammered on every curl, every drive. Yet instead of basketball, Reese turned it into a spectacle. What was supposed to be competition became open targeting, night after night, with zero accountability.
Well, it all started last year, in her rookie season, where she received 20% of all the flagrant fouls in the league. And most of them came from Angel Reese in the Chicago Sky. And these weren't basketball plays. They were not only fouling her, but they were getting up, laughing about it, laughing about Caitlin Clark getting assaulted. Any other work environment, people go to jail for what's going on.
Here's the painful irony. The very player who carried the WNBA into record-breaking viewership, selling out arenas in Dallas, Vegas, New York, and Chicago, was left unprotected. Networks paid millions to showcase Caitlin Clark. Fans bought tickets months ahead. But instead of letting her shine, jealousy fueled an arms race of cheap shots and intimidation. Every collision, every awkward landing piled up until Clark's body couldn't take it anymore.
Now, what little girl wants to grow up and play in a league where you're targeted like that? How do you sit here and profess and demand that everyone take women's sports seriously when you can't even take it seriously enough to not act like a junior high queen on the court? It's stupid. That's so dumb. It looks like a soap opera.
This wasn't just frustrating to watch. It was dangerous for the league's foundation. Clark's quad strain, her groin problems, none of these were flukes. They were the result of weeks of unchecked targeting by players desperate to knock her off balance. At the center of it all, Angel Reese, leaning into the villain role, thriving on attention, even if it came at Clark's expense.
And last year, I noticed how much it was just Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was taking all the hits. Caitlin Clark was taking all the abuse. But this year they've added Sophie Cunningham. She gets more flagrant fouls on her than anybody in the league besides Caitlin Clark. And Aaliyah Boston, she's been taking hits as well. But the worst thing is the consistency. So they don't call flagrant fouls, or most of the time, Caitlin Clark could be held for an entire game at a time. They don't call fouls. They don't call common fouls.
And that's why fans are calling out the hypocrisy. The WNBA bragged about record ticket sales, jersey sellouts, and sponsorship deals, all thanks to Caitlin Clark. But when it came to protecting their biggest star, they looked the other way. Now, the very player they built their marketing around is sidelined, leaving arenas half empty and TV networks scrambling.
You spend all this time trying to get respect for your league. and then you do bitch stuff. The only B's out there I see are the B's that are being dramatic about Caitlin Clark. That's all I see. They try so long to get respect for women's basketball, and then they treat it like a junior high school girl's locker room. Junior high school girl antics on the court. Instead of playing the game, they got to be drama because they're jealous. Instead of letting their skills speak for themselves, they got to be drama because they're jealous.
So what happens when your golden goose gets forced out because rivals like Reese couldn't control their obsession? The result is Clark limping on the sidelines while the league scrambles to explain why their biggest star isn't on the court. From training camp in May, warning signs were there. A tight quad, nagging pain. But instead of rest, she was paraded everywhere as the centerpiece. And players like Reese exploited every weakness. By July, the injury became a terror. By August, her season was over. This wasn't bad luck. It was a season-long setup.
I mean, it's a gut punch that basically encompasses an entire season of them. The Fever have lost so many players to injury, but obviously none bigger than Clark. And there was such a wait for this second season after her magnificent rookie season. And then, the anticipation of her possibly coming back only for that not to happen takes a lot of air out of the room, obviously takes a lot of energy out of the fans, and is a devastating blow for not just the Fever and the WNBA.
The worst part? Clark never had a healthy stretch. At least 3 times, she was listed day-to-day. But precautionary just meant tape her up and throw her back into the fire. Fans watch her hobbling while opponents, Reese included, pretended everything was fine. It was like asking someone to sprint on one leg while the whole world ignored it.
Clark, a 2-time All-Star and the 2024 WNBA Rookie of the Year, has been sidelined suffering a right groin injury during the Fever's 87-77 win over the Connecticut Sun on July 15th. If you guys remember that game, Caitlin Clark put the team on her back in the winding minutes to give the Indiana Fever that lead. Clark also suffered a bone bruise at a later date during her recovery process.
That's where mismanagement and targeting collided. Everyone knows injuries compound when ignored. Clark wasn't just playing through fatigue. She was being battered every possession. Coaches saw it. Her burst was gone. Her cuts lacked explosiveness. And still, she logged heavy minutes. Medical staff should have stepped in. Instead, they left her exposed, while Reese celebrated every hard foul like a trophy.
Caitlin has worked so hard throughout this time, doing everything possible to recover and return to the court, but ultimately, time is not on our side, said Indiana Fever COO and GM Amber Cox. While we will continue working with Caitlin and provide her with every resource we have available, there is not enough time left in our season for her to safely return, and her long-term health and well-being remains our top priority. We are looking forward to having her back at full strength to start the 2026 season. Clark appeared in 13 games during the regular season, averaging 16.5 points, 8.8 assists, and 5 rebounds per game, while helping lead the team to the 2025 WNBA Commissioner's Cup title.
So what was really prioritized? Her health, or the money tied to her name. The Fever needed her to fill arenas. The WNBA needed her for ratings. And rivals needed her for clout. Nobody pumped the brakes. Nobody protected her. That's why Caitlin Clark didn't fall to a fluke accident. She unraveled in a spiral of overuse, targeting, and jealousy.
And this is what Caitlin wrote. I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every day with the singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I am feeling. I want to thank everyone who had my back through all the uncertainty. This has been incredibly frustrating, but even in the bad, there is good. The way fans continue to show up for me and the Fever brought me so much joy and important perspective. I'm so proud of how this team has only gotten stronger through the adversity this year. Now it's time to close out the season and claim our spot in the playoffs.
And that spiral didn't just end her season. It ripped momentum straight out of the WNBA's hands. She was the ticket sales. She was the ratings. She was the merch. Every foul ignored, every cheap shot unpunished chipped away at Clark and the league's credibility. And when Reese finally spoke after Clark's injury, instead of respect, her words dripped with jealousy. Fans heard it. They turned on her instantly.
My inside sources are telling me that Mama Reese demands free tickets. The Chicago Bravado, they happily oblige because they're also giving away free tickets to the other dozen or so people that show up to the arena.
That's what stung most. Clark carried the league with historic ratings. And when she went down, Reese brushed it off, saying the league didn't need just one player. But fans knew better. They saw through the bitterness. Without Clark, arenas weren't packed, jerseys weren't selling, and casual fans stopped tuning in. Reese pretending otherwise only made her look petty.
Angel Reese is now quoted as saying, I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we're watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. She refuses to say Caitlin Clark's name. It's because of me too, and I want you to realize that.
What makes it worse? Reese built her own platform off Clark's rise. Bigger crowds? They came because of Clark. TV ratings? They spiked only when Indiana Fever was on. Yet, when Clark went down, Reese dismissed her impact and made it about herself. She enjoyed the spotlight without paying the price of being the league's target.
Sorry, young lady. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody would be watching the WNBA additionally for you. This is all about Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is bringing the money to the game, the planes to the game, the TV viewership. The WNBA is on fire because of Caitlin Clark.
The backlash was immediate. Fans flooded social media, calling Reese's comments tone-deaf and cruel. Longtime supporters accused her of celebrating Clark's downfall. Her fan base even bragged about the league finally breathing without Clark. It wasn't just insensitive. It was a PR disaster that exposed her envy.
Her rookie year with the Chicago Bravado, the numbers were eerily similar. It was around 88% capacity. Angel Reese averaged around 8,700 a game. Going into 2025, Angel Reese was the only star in the secondary dump unrivaled. For the first time in her career, it was her opportunity to prove that she could draw. It was her opportunity to prove that she did not need Caitlin Clark to draw an audience. What was the end result? Unrivaled averaged 221,000 viewers. For reasons unknown, the mainstream media called this a resounding success. The rest of us called it huge embarrassing failure.
Now Reese faces the same trap many before her fell into. Fans see her as part of the problem, not the solution. Her words didn't honor Clark or unite the fan base. They made her look jealous and bitter. The fallout was brutal. Ticket prices for the All-Star Weekend in Indiana crashed from over $200 to barely $60 in a matter of hours. What was supposed to be Clark's crown jewel event became hollow and directionless overnight.
We've got Colin Cowherd saying, you know what? Guess what I didn't talk about on my show this year? The WNBA. Guess why? He just come out and said it yesterday. Because Caitlin Clark was not playing. That's why. He said, I led my show, my biggest, largest national sports radio show in the country. I led my show with Caitlin Clark 6 times last year. I mean, you don't lead a show with anybody unless they can draw.
The desperation was obvious even before the announcement. Teams moved Fever games into NBA-sized arenas just to cash in on Clark's star power. And she delivered until she couldn't play. Suddenly, those same venues were half empty, fans demanding refunds, and resale tickets plummeting below parking costs. The Clark effect was gone, and the league's collapse was exposed.
The ticket prices, the demand fell off a cliff. And it's not just the on-court product that suffers without number 22, Caitlin Clark. The entire weekend's economic opportunities have felt the fallout.
That anger turned into action. Boycotts weren't just talk anymore. They were organized. Fans vowed to keep playoff arenas half empty. Social media exploded with refund receipts. open letters, and campaigns draining attendance. Angel Reese's jealousy, her gloating, her dismissal of Clark's role only fueled the fire. This wasn't just about the league anymore. Fans made Reese the face of their frustration.
They could have easily said 2 months, 1 to 2 months. Be evaluated in the next 6 weeks. Instead, they played this day-to-day, game-time decision, probable, questionable nonsense for the last 8 weeks. And that is why fans are so pissed off for the most part. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I know if they were upfront and didn't BS us, people wouldn't be that angry at the organization, at least not as angry as they are now.
Clark's season didn't collapse because of bad luck. It collapsed because the league refused to protect her. And in the process, they shattered fan trust. People don't want hollow statements. They want accountability, better officiating, and leadership that values player safety. Without it, boycotts will get the playoffs before they even start. Still, the Fever aren't done. Kelsey Mitchell is fighting every night. Aaliyah Boston is stepping up as a leader. Lexi Hull is grinding. And make no mistake, Caitlin Clark will come back stronger in 2026.